teaches the atonement of Christ so clearly. As hard as the words are and the vocabulary is in that book, understanding the atonement of Christ, you can understand it from there. If you want to read the story of Christ's life, go read in the New Testament. But if you want to learn about the atonement, read the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Benj and Sailor Show. We are excited to have you on for today. We have an awesome episode for you. Sailor and I are going to be talking about the books that have influenced our lives the most.
Yep.
And we're excited to hop in, and hopefully we can fill you guys with the whole list of books you need to read for specific things.
Yeah, should we just really quick go through the list and just name them all? Or do you think we should just...
No, let's do it one by one.
One by one? Okay, you guys have to stay for the whole podcast to figure out.
Stay for the whole podcast.
Stay for the whole podcast to figure out what our favorite books are and how they've influenced us.
But I'll tell you this. These books are going to cover how to become a better communicator. They're going to cover how to be a better parent, how to be a better person, how to make more money,
achieve your goals.
How to achieve your goals. Like, these are the best books to invest in yourself to become the person that you want to be.
Yeah. So, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Let's see what Sarah
I will go first. Which one should I pick? I'll start with this one. I bet everyone has read this who's listening to this.
Honestly,
podcast.
I don't think a lot of people have read that book.
Really?
I haven't met anyone who's read it.
Really? Okay. All right. David Goggins. David Goggins, this is for you. Whoa. This is Cant Hurt Me. This is the very first book that he came out with. And for those of you, I don't even feel like I should even say who David Goggins is. If you don't know, listen to the Reservoir podcast, but go back and go figure out who this man is. Because he's very motivational and he's very inspiring. He's like one of those, so for me, I guess, I am the kind of person that in order to motivate me, I like do really well for someone to yell at me and tell me all the things I'm doing wrong and just tell me to freaking just like go get to work. Those are the type of things that really motivate me. So that's kind of what this book does, is David Goggins throughout the book is telling you about his life and all the achievements that he's gone through, but also like giving you motivation and telling you specifically in the book, hey, you can do anything you want. Go get to freaking work. Stop sucking. You're a loser. Like, really hits it home for me, because that's kind of the stuff that like, that's how I'm motivated.
Yeah. The book is very profane.
Yeah, you can get but you can get the clean version.
You can buy the clean version. I don't think we have the clean version of that one, but we have the clean version of his other one.
Yeah.
But that one right there, it's very
really good.
If
you just need to get yelled at,
crazy.
If you need to get yelled at, this is a book to listen to.
Well, and a little sneak peek of it too. It goes in depth into David Goggins' life, of who he was as a kid. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, his life story is crazy. And I'm not like saying that, I mean, you'll listen to him, and for me, the biggest thing that I got out of it is I can do whatever I want. I just have to be tough enough to do it. Mm-hmm. So it's a big motivator
mental
for
toughness.
me.
If you want mental toughness, read that book.
Okay, next book, you go.
Okay, I'll go. I don't have as many books as Sailor does.
Well, a lot of these books, I think almost everyone you've read.
I'll go through this one right here, The Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod. This one, I would say, had the biggest impact on my life in the start of my journey of self-improvement. So one of my good friends introduced me to this book.
Why don't you show everyone what that
The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
Hey.
Oh yeah, this is my bookmark. It's Sailor.
Yeah.
As a little girl. I'll show it in Sailor's camera. Sailor as a little girl. I had this in my office. And one guy was like, hey, is that your daughter?
Oh.
I was like, bro, I'm not 30. Anyways, Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. If you want to get out of your saying I'm not a morning person, read this book. This book literally taught me to not be a morning person.
And I refuse to read the book because I do not want to be a morning person.
That's the thing, is Sailor knows.
No, I just know that you'll be like, I already know that I need to get up early. I already know that. It's just the fact that like that book tries to teach you how to not be a morning person, and for me, I don't think.
No, it tries to teach you how to be a morning person.
I know, I said that. It tries to teach you how to be a morning person, and for me, I just feel like that can't happen. I'm not a morning person.
See, I thought the same thing. I was the exact same way as you were. Exact same way, I promise. When I was getting ready to go on my mission, the thing that I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this, was wake up at 6:30.
Really?
Yes.
See, I was already...
That was like my biggest concern.
See, for me, I already I had to go do water with my dad. So I knew if I had to get up, I could get up, but did I want to? No. But I knew I'd get up, so that wasn't worried.
I never got up early my entire life until my mission. And I thought it was hard getting up at 6:30.
Really?
Yeah. But what I did with this book is kind of just a short, I'll read a few quotes from it just to get the goods out of it. But basically how Elrod did was he tested the theory that waking up early is all in your mind. If you tell yourself you're going to be tired in the morning, even if you get 10 hours of sleep, you're going to be tired in the morning. If you tell yourself you're not going to be tired in the morning, if you get 4 hours of sleep, you won't be tired in the morning. And I tested that, and it's true. I've proven the theory. It has everything to do with your mind and your thoughts and your beliefs.
See, maybe your mind is more easily changed than mine is because
Maybe.
I've
You
tried
also
that
haven't
and
read it.
I've read half of it, but I will not finish it. I just don't.
Anyways, so
I
here's,
don't like it.
I would say this right here would probably help what people struggle with the most. And that is, a lot of people want to get up early. Would you say that? Yes or no?
I want to be able to accomplish more, but I don't want to
But would you
have the
say-
feeling of waking up in the morning.
Would you say a lot of people want to wake up early?
Yeah, I would agree.
Because they want to get stuff done, right?
Yes.
It's more productive. Well, here's 5 steps that Hal gives us to ensure, he calls them the 5-step snooze-proof wake-up strategy.
Okay.
So when you wake up, you hit the snooze button. 1, set your intentions the night before. To do that, we don't do that anymore, but we used to, and it helped. Remember, we would write in our journal, set your intentions
what?
the night before. So you'd write in your journal what you're going to do right when you wake up.
Yeah.
And so you already
Just
have it
plan
scheduled.
your
Just plan out your morning. Keep your alarm clock across the room.
Yeah, I don't do that. My alarm clock
Do
is
I do
usually,
that?
like below my pillow. I know you do it.
I do that every day, every
know.
morning. And that one right there is huge. And the reason why is because you have to get out of bed to go turn it off.
I read these things and I just don't think it'll help me.
It helps me.
Okay.
Brush your teeth. As soon as you get up, get out of bed, brush your teeth. Drink a full glass of water and get dressed in your workout clothes.
See, I think drinking a full glass of water would actually help me because I hate water. It takes me so freaking long to drink a glass of water.
But it's miserable, so it's like even worse.
Well, no, I know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think that's the only part that could help me wake up because it would take me forever to drink this glass of water. But I've definitely gotten into my workout clothes and then gone back to bed. I've definitely done that. That is not true.
Anyways, go read this book. I won't tell you the secrets, but he has in here, it's called The 6 Life Savers. It's an acronym for SAVERS, SAVERS. Read the book. It'll change your life.
Wow, we're both
Sailor's
down.
next.
I'm next. Okay, which one should I do? All right. I will say this. Like what Ben was saying earlier with The Miracle Morning, the first book that I read that truly helped me to change my mindset from an employee to an entrepreneur was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The number of people that I hear that say the first book that ever changed their life was Rich Dad, Poor Dad is just insane. I hear that constantly. Like if it's not number 1, then number 2. But people who read this book, it really helps you change your mind from an employee mindset to an entrepreneur mindset. Because what it does is it starts to get you thinking about what has been programmed into your brain through public school, through TV, through the government, right? And it kind of debunks the things that certain things that they've taught you. And so you're like, hey, if that's not true, then what else are they teaching me? That's not true. And you kind of start going through this mindset of public schools and the government, they know that they need employees. So when you go to public school, you learn how to be a good employee. You don't learn how to be an entrepreneur. And you can tell that through the school system. Even the classes that say they're business classes, it's you're a CEO of a business. You didn't start the business.
Yeah, like not even a CEO sometimes.
Yeah,
it's like a manager.
You're just a manager. It teaches you how to be a manager. And that's fine. But for me, seeing his experience and how he applied it and changed his life was really interesting. For me personally, I really love books that tell stories as they go. Like I'm not someone who can just sit there and I guess I can read a textbook, but the books that I actually enjoy are ones that teach principles through stories. So
And his is great at that.
His is really good at that.
For people who don't know, why is it called Rich Dad, Poor Dad? That's a really weird name.
Robert Kiyosaki is the author of this. He lived was he living in Japan?
Hawaii.
He's
Japanese though.
Okay,
yeah.
I was gonna say. I'm pretty sure it was Japan.
No, he is in Hawaii.
Okay, anyway, he was living somewhere and his dad, the guy who gave birth to him.
His dad gave birth to him?
Okay, let me repeat this.
Don't cut this out, by the way.
No, yeah, don't cut that out.
Leave that in there. That's funny.
Okay. No, his dad.
His biological father.
His biological
There you go.
father. He was like a government official. He did
Had
something.
a PhD.
He had a PhD, and he went to school. He went to college, graduated. All the steps, right, that they teach you in public school of what you need to do to be successful. And he was getting a base salary and just living like that. And Robert comes up to his dad one day. He's like, "Hey, Dad, I want to make money." And he's like, "I don't know. Is that what he says, right?" He's like, "Hey, Dad, I want to learn how to make my own money. I want to be an entrepreneur." And he's like, "I don't know how to do that. But so-and-so, his dad knows how to do that. So go talk to him." So basically what the story is just about, it's about the lessons that he learned from his biological dad, which he labels as his poor dad, and the lessons he learned from his rich dad, which was the friend's dad who owned a couple of businesses. And just the differences between their mindsets. It's just about his life and how he applied what his rich dad said instead of what his poor dad did, and how his life turned out so much different than his biological father. So great book. Like if you are on this podcast and you haven't read like a self-help book in a while and you really want to change your mindset.
Yes. I would say that one's probably the first one to read.
Yeah, it's the first book to read. It's so great.
Yeah, one principle in there that is hugely escalated with me, and it's something that Sailor and I actually have as one of our family core values, is rich dad teaches Robert as a kid how to not work for money, but he teaches him how to work for growth and for knowledge. And he does that by saying, "Hey, I need you to work for me, but I'm not going to pay you."
Yeah, and Robert's like, no.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm not going to do that." And so he went and talked to his poor dad, his father, and he's like, "Yeah, that guy's ripping you off. Why would you work for no money? That's the only reason to work is for money." And it's because his dad thinks that all you do is work for money. Whereas wealthy people know that you don't work for money, you work for personal growth. If you work for money, that means you're a slave to money.
Well, I wouldn't say all wealthy people do know that. I do think there are people that don't.
I mean, wealthy employees.
I even think there's some business people that don't.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? Like, you can work for growth, and all of a sudden you stop growing and you start working for money, and you get used to that, and you're okay with that. So what I'm saying is, just because you can't just label wealthy people.
You're right. Anyways, read that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
Amazing.
Why don't you share us your next book?
Okay, my next book I want to talk about is Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone.
Good.
This one is so good.
Again, if you need someone to, for me, if you need some motivation by someone telling you to just get to work, Grant Cardone is again, all his books are like that. They're really, really good.
Yeah, they hit you deep in your heart of am I giving it my all? Am I actually working as hard as I'm capable of?
Yeah. Well, and his audiobooks are so great because he actually is voicing them.
Every single one.
And not very many people do that. And I think if anyone's gonna write a book, you should totally be the person on the audiobook. People love to hear the author instead of some random person's voice.
Yeah, Robert Kiyosaki's books aren't like that. He didn't voice them.
Yeah.
I wish he would have too. David Goggins didn't voice his either. He was sitting next to the guy who was voicing it.
Telling him how to say that.
Yeah, literally say that. Anyways, though, this one, I just want to read a few quotes. So basically, Sell or Be Sold, what this is Grant talks about how everything in life is a sales call. Either you are selling or you're being sold to.
In every instance.
In every single position of your life.
Right now.
For example, I am trying to sell you guys on to read Sell or Be Sold, right? Now, if you're listening to this podcast, you're thinking to yourself, you're trying to sell yourself on ways to not read this book. Either saying, I don't want to go buy it.
Or I don't like bench, so whatever he says is crap.
Or I don't like sales. If you're a salesman, you're greedy. Well, I'll tell you right now, this book has more to do with communication and skills of influence than sales. He doesn't have sales scripts in here of how to lock down a real estate deal. He doesn't have that, or how to sell a car. He doesn't have that. He has life tips on how to get your way.
Yep. And anything, whether you're vying for a job, whether you're trying to marry someone, whether you're trying to date someone, whether you're trying to convince your parents to do X, Y, Z.
Yep.
So and so.
Yeah. How to get your way. How to get your way in business and in life. That's what it is. So for example, if you take your kid to the grocery store and they grab a toy or a piece of candy or whatever, they're trying to convince you to buy it. And if you buy it from them, they sold you.
Yeah. Think about that. How many times has your kid recently sold you something?
Yeah.
Emerald, let's think. What has she sold me today? She wanted her crackers in the car. She had the Ritz crackers open the whole entire time at the grocery store. And as soon as I put them in the car, in the back of the car, she started crying. I'm like, no, you can't get it. And then I go to put the cart away. I go back and she's saying, crackers, crackers, crackers. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll give you your crackers.
Boom, today.
That was today. That to me. Yeah, all she said was crackers. Yeah, all she said was crackers.
If you want the crackers bad enough, you can get what you want.
Yeah.
Here's a quote from the book I want to read. A sale is made on every call you make. Or in every situation in your life. Either you sell the client some stocks or he sells you a reason he can't buy. Either way, the sale is made. The only question is who is going to close. If you want sales and communication, read this book.
Yeah, if there's something in your mind right now that you want, read that book. Mm-hmm. Next book?
Next book.
Now this one is probably one of the most recent books that I've read. Well, I'm actually reading. It's called Everything Isn't Terrible. Now before you judge me on this, I did not buy this book because this isn't something I would normally buy. Like, I don't really like when people, the title of this book is just like super
Everything Isn't
off-putting to me. I just like wouldn't read that because of that. But I was given it, and so I'm like, hey, I'll just read it anyway. Those are my initial thoughts if you're thinking about that. That was me, but my mind was changed. So anyway, throughout this book, it's just talking about how to conquer your insecurities and how to overcome your anxiety, and it teaches you how to recognize when anxiety is taking over your life and how to overcome that and how to replace it with different things. So for example, I've been reading this book for the past probably month and a half now, just reading like a chapter every other day, every now and then, and every time I read it, it's teaching me to think back on times when I've let anxiety control the situation. So like I wrote in here a couple months ago some examples of when I felt that like my anxiety was controlling me and I wasn't controlling it and overcoming it. So it said, like in the back of here, it said, over the next 24 hours, make a note of every time you find yourself focusing anxiously on another person. And so I wrote in here, like, I texted this person and they didn't respond. And so I was wondering why they weren't responding, and I was constantly thinking about it, overly thinking about it when I shouldn't have been. Another one was, you're in a meeting with this person, and it should have been a short meeting, but it took forever. And so I was really nervous about how it went, because you were talking to this person about like some pretty big things. And so I was like super nervous about it. Another thing is, we were talking to our accountant and they weren't getting back on our taxes, and so it was making me like nervous, and I kept thinking about it. What's wrong with our taxes? What's going on? And so little things like that, it's helped me to recognize when I'm wasting time being anxious about things when I shouldn't be. And for me, I've talked about this in a previous podcast, but I've recognized that when I'm anxious about something, and say for example, it's like the most important thing I need to get done, it like gets put on the very, very far back burner. I don't want to do it because I'm so anxious about it, and I'm so nervous about what's actually going to happen that I just don't do anything, and I just wait for something to happen instead of me controlling the situation and controlling how I feel about it. And I constantly think about it till it gets done.
Yeah, you let the situation control you.
Yeah, so this is a great book. I feel like for me to just recognize when my fears are controlling me and teaching me to control my fears. If you're a human being, you have times in your life when you are nervous or fearful about something. No human being doesn't have that. But for every human being in the world, they need to read this book because it just really helps you to realize what's going on with your life, and if you're letting anxiety take control of your life.
Yeah, I've never read it yet. I will read it though.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see when it does happen to you, when you realize when a fear is controlling you and when you're controlling your fears. Because I feel like you're really, really good about controlling your fears because you take action all the time, and I'm more someone who like lets it control me instead.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Having anxiety, I really do think it's a hard thing to overcome, but you can overcome it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
If you have really strong anxiety, and it's obviously anxiety comes from past experiences in your life, but if you grew up gaining different subconscious parts of your mind of having anxiety, you can figure out how to reprogram your mind and not have it anymore.
Well, I wouldn't say not have it, but I would say you can retrain your responses to it from being a toxic response to being a really, really healthy response, and even healthy to healthier. That's where I think, like, you constantly have to work on it. Like, everyone has fears, but the people that don't say or maybe don't label themselves as an anxiety-ridden person are like that because they've either learned or subconsciously have known all along how to respond to that in a healthy way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, 100%. That's why I think the whole being diagnosed isn't necessarily a thing. I think it's just more severe than others. Everyone can overcome
So you're saying everyone has some sort of depression, everyone has some sort of moment of anxiety, everyone has some sort of moment of anything else.
I would say everyone in the world has a point in their life where they are anxious, where they fear something, where they're scared of something. Mm-hmm. Depression, I don't think everyone in their life feels depression.
Well, I'm saying the very, very least I would say is you feel sad.
Oh, 100%.
Point, right? Like
yeah,
that. Like I'm saying it's on a scale. Like you're saying.
It's on a scale. It's just
it's not like you have it or you don't. Well, I guess this is our mind interpreting the word depression and what it means, but on a scale.
It's on a scale.
Okay.
It really is on a scale, and once you get past a certain mark on the scale, that's when you'll be diagnosed with it. But you can still get to the front of the scale, and you honestly don't need. I think you could do it on your own. And I think you could 100% do it without medication.
I'm not saying that you couldn't. I'm just saying that for some people, I think that they would do better someone holding them accountable and teaching them. Because some people don't.
I agree.
Some people don't have the skill to know where to go for healthy information and how to deal with the information and actually put it into play in their life. Where some people could.
And I'm not saying that like you should overcome it by yourself, even if you could, because what that could do is that could create another path. So I think there's completely different paths of depression and anxiety you can have, and so you could get out of one and go down the other if you don't have help. So like, I really do think you need help, and if it's just God who helps you, at least it's someone, right? I mean, he can help you more than anyone. But I think, everyone feels sad at one point. Everyone has anxiety at some point, but depending on what you choose to do when you feel that moment, when you feel that emotion is what determines whether or not you will keep having it or if you'll just go in deeper.
Yeah.
And the craziest part about it is everything has to do with your decision.
Yeah, your agency.
And so if you are deeply in anxiety, it's because of decisions you've made in the past that have pushed you down further. And so you just have to figure out how to overcome those decisions and make different ones at different times.
Yeah.
I mean, by no means am I a therapist or anything, but
this is not like medical advice.
To me, like logically, that's what makes sense.
That's how you think of it as.
So.
Okay, why don't we go with your last book, and then we can hit one of my last books.
Okay. I only get one more?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to break out this one then.
Oh. What is it?
It just came in the mail.
Oh.
I just ordered it.
Okay. Of course, you wanted. Let's state the real reason why you wanted to bring this box on the show. It's because you want to show everyone your knife. Oh. You want an excuse to bring out the knife.
I can open it without my knife.
Okay.
These new packages that Amazon has, this new tape is super weak.
Dude, that tape has been out for years.
It has?
So don't even say it's new.
I swear it's new.
It's not new.
Look at that. Just ripped it with my hands.
It's not new. You just have never bought anything on Amazon.
This book right here is the best book ever written in mankind.
Oh my gosh. He's been talking about this book for a week.
Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
You even got the hardcover copy?
Of course I bought the hardcover.
Great.
I was looking at Amazon on Saturday. I was like, I have to buy the hardcover. This book right here, the first time I read it was 2 days ago. I ran 14 miles. And I listened to this book. Anyways, Outwitting the Devil. It's so good. Basically, Napoleon Hill has a conversation with the devil. And I haven't even seen the physical copy yet. But it's all listed in Q&As. Basically, what Napoleon Hill does here is he sits down with the devil and he talks to him and asks him questions all about our life. And questions specifically of like here's a question right here is that Napoleon asks the devil. He says, what is your most famous trick? Okay. Meaning, what is the strongest trick that you have to be able to tempt people? Right here, and this is what the devil says, so I'll read this real quick. So tell me first about your most clever trick, the one you use to ensnare the greatest number of people.
Okay.
And this is the devil talking. If you force me to give away this secret, it will mean my loss of millions of people now living and still greater numbers of millions as yet unborn. I beg of you, permit me to pass this one question unanswered. And then Napoleon says, so His Majesty the Devil fears a mere humble earthbound creature? Is that right? And he says, it is not right, but it is true. You have no right to rob me of my most necessary tool of trade. For millions of years, I've dominated earthbound creatures through fear and ignorance. Anyway, so he says, stop stalling, just start confessing. So then he goes on to say these two things. He's like, my greatest weapon over human beings consists of two secret principles by which I gain control of their minds. The first one is I silently enter the minds of the people, and I establish the habit of drifting in them. What drifting is, a drifter is, right here, a drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his or own mind.
So give me an example in real life.
He would rather let me occupy his mind and do his thinking, than go to the trouble of thinking for himself.
Okay, so the number one tool is he convinces people to not think for themselves.
Yes.
Just basically be mindless.
Yes.
And not aware of who you are.
So he likes it when people don't think.
Okay.
The devil likes it when you don't have to think for yourself, when you don't have to make decisions for yourself.
Well, that makes sense because Satan wants to get rid of your agency. That's why Satan likes people to get into like cigarettes, get into alcohol, because when you are either drinking that thing or you are smoking that thing, you're putting your body into a sense of I'm not in control of certain things anymore. When you're under the influence, you give up a portion of the control that you have, and that's what Satan wants.
It's actually really crazy you bring that up, because there's a whole chapter in here on how the devil uses cigarettes to control the minds of people. Written in 1930.
Well, I'm sure back then, didn't they say doctors, like...
They prescribed it.
They prescribed cigarettes. I don't know if it was back then, but it was definitely back for our time.
Anyways, a drifter is one who accepts whatever life throws his way without making a protest or putting up a fight. He doesn't know what he wants from life and spends all of his time getting just that. He has lots of opinions, but they are not his own, and most of them are supplied by the devil. The drifter is too lazy to think for himself.
So from what Napoleon just said, how would you say that you aren't just like what he said? Because he said in there, they just take what other people have taught them and what other people say, and don't think for themselves and just apply it, because other people have said that. And I know that you listened to all these books, you've read all these books, you're constantly trying to learn from other people. How would you say that you're not like a drifter then?
That's a great question.
Because you do apply it.
Yeah,
I mean, you apply some things, but
I apply it choosing to what I want to apply.
How do you know that?
Because I choose to apply it. So if there's a principle that I learn that I want to apply, I will apply it. If there's a principle I learn I don't want to apply, I don't apply it.
So give me an example. I want an example of a time that you've read something and you've chosen not to apply it because you've thought it through and you don't think that it's right.
I can't think of a specific example because I don't remember them. But I can tell you right now, there's multiple things out of Rich Dad Poor Dad that I read that I disagree with and chose not to believe. I don't believe everything that I read.
Okay, that's where I want people to understand is, and this is something that I tell Benj and myself constantly over time is, even though you're reading all these books and you're getting all this information from other people, you have to look back on who those people are and their biases, and then you have to take it in your mind and say, okay, I know who this person is. This is what this person says. Do I believe it myself? Should I apply this or should I not? Because even if someone who's written a book writes something, they can write something totally wrong and totally ignorant, right? You could listen to us right now, and what you should be thinking is, hey, should I just listen to whatever Benj and Sailor say because they've done X, Y, Z? Or should I listen to what they say because I've thought it through I've thought it through, and I feel that God says that this is true or that this isn't true. I think it all comes back to having the Spirit with you and truly having that be your guide. That's why I think it's so important.
Yeah, no, I see exactly what you're saying. I see it is very important to listen to the Spirit when it comes to making decisions, because the Spirit knows all truth.
Well, not when making decisions. When listening and gaining information.
Well, you're making a decision to gain the information. No,
you're gaining information from XYZ says this. Do I believe it or not? Is it true?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The second one is, my second best trick is not second at all. It is first because without it, I never could gain control of the minds of the youths. Parents, school teachers, religious instructors, and many other adults unknowingly serve my purpose by helping me to destroy in children the habit of thinking for themselves. They go about their work in various ways, never suspecting what they are doing to the minds of children or the real cause of the children's mistakes. Here's some examples. Have you ever heard a parent finish a child's sentence? Have you seen a parent complete a child's homework? A parent might think that they're helping out their kid when in all reality, they're making it way worse by doing that. But a parent thinks what they're doing is right.
I don't think the homework thing makes sense, but the first one does. Does he say homework in there?
Complete a child's homework.
Yeah, I don't think that makes
Remember
sense.
those science fairs at school where it was obvious the kids had a lot of outside help with their science projects? Just some examples. Hold up. This is also biased to what you're about to say because you didn't receive help.
No, I did.
Not a lot though.
Yeah, I did.
And the reason why I know that you didn't receive a ton is because one thing you're really good at is thinking for yourself. You've always been really, really, really good at that.
I don't know. I think the first example is great, but I think the other two are just not a very good example of it.
Yeah, no, I can see what you're saying.
I think this is the thing that parents do wrong. What parent could do wrong is when you're teaching a child and you say, hey, for example, with Emerald, don't hit that kid, okay? You just say that. Why did you hit that kid? You're not supposed to do that. I told you not to do that. But the important part of that circumstance that kid needs to understand is why hitting is bad. You need to go and tell.
Yeah.
We need to tell Emerald, and this is something we do all the time. Like Benj and I instill this in the way we parent Emerald is when we tell her something, we tell her why. Because I don't want her to do something just because we said so. Just because a higher authority who knows more, who has more experience told her to do so. And I guess in a way she is kind of still doing that when we tell her why, but at least she understands, hey, this is their thought process, this is why I'm not supposed to do that, and then she either agrees to it or she doesn't when she doesn't do it. But I think taking that extra step further can help prevent that when you're teaching your kids.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
When we put Emerald in a room, we tell her why she's in her room, what she did wrong that got her in there, but also why that thing was bad that she just did.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I think Sailor and I do really well is, I don't necessarily think it's wrong to do this, but if you are constantly telling your kid, good job, good job, good job, good job, they're going to start looking for your approval of your good job for them to feel good about themselves.
Or good about the accomplishment.
Yeah, so it's not like you shouldn't tell them good job. Obviously, they did a good job. However, but rather than saying good job, ask them, hey, do you think you did a good job? Because what it does is it makes them think, okay, well, let me think back about what I did. I did this and this and this. Yeah, Dad, I did do a good job. Well, good job then, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas if they're like, no, I could have worked harder. Like, all right, well, what do we got to do to help you work harder?
Yeah.
You know, leave it up to the kids to think about what they did, right?
I think you have to know what your flaws are personally. Like if you know that you seek approval from other people, you're probably going to teach your kid to do the same thing. And so you've got to figure out how to not let your kid become like that. And that's through your parenting styles and how you parent people. So telling a kid good job, I think it actually can be very helpful. But I also think it can also be hurtful in some circumstances along with everything else that you do.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, we're not telling you guys to not tell your kids good job.
Don't ever say anything good about your kids.
Like if you've watched the movie Whiplash, that's what the guy says. He's like, the two worst words that a human being can hear is good job.
And I disagree with that sentence.
I don't think it's the two worst words. But yeah, but I can see how it can be bad. It can be detrimental to kids. Anyways, read this book. Like, I am begging you, please, 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 please read this book. It will change your life.
Like you've said that for every other book.
I know, like these 3 books, seriously, and these ones. Like
yeah, they're all really good.
If you really want to know how to change your life right now, if you want to make a change, and it's summer right now, if you're not working right now, which most people are, but say you just got out of high school and you have summer, read all of these.
And apply it.
And apply it. I love this book.
Well, I hope you have as much enthusiasm for that book as the book I'm about to bring out.
Hopefully I do.
Hopefully. I bet you. I'm interested to see how you react.
Okay, well,
you already know what it is,
All
I
right.
think.
Okay, so who's going to bring up the next
now, grand finale. This is our last book we're going to bring out. But this book has impacted my life more than any other book ever. And it'll always impact my life more than, or hopefully it'll always impact my life more than any other book that I ever read. But this is a book that I casually read growing up. And then in high school, I started to actually read for myself. And I just decided I'm going to read by myself, for myself, and I have questions, and I'm going to seek to get answers. So that book is The Book of Mormon. This is a personal copy from the Deseret bookstore, so it doesn't actually look like probably all the basic Book of Mormons that you see out there, but this is a Book of Mormon. So let's talk about it, Benj. How has the Book of Mormon influenced you?
The Book of Mormon is pretty much the whole basis on all of my beliefs about God. So when it comes down to, who's Jesus Christ, who is God, what are their natures, what is the atonement of Jesus Christ, how does it help me, has everything to do with what it teaches in the Book of Mormon. Mm-hmm. And that's the coolest thing that I love about the Book of Mormon, is it teaches the atonement of Christ so clearly, so easy to understand. As hard as the words are and the vocabulary is in that book, understanding the atonement of Christ, you can understand it from there. If you want to read the story of Christ's life, go read in the New Testament. That'll tell you everything about Christ's life, from hearing what he did, and then after the 4 Gospels, it'll go in more into the gospel, right? Of Christ's gospel. But if you want to learn about the atonement, read the Book of Mormon.
Yeah. So the Book of Mormon is, again, like what Ben said, all it's doing throughout the whole entire time is telling people's story and the way that Christ has impacted their lives as a singular person, but also as a civilization. And the Book of Mormon, for me, has always been a book, when I was younger, where I thought it was just stories about good people. And it is. It is a story about good people, but it's so much more than that. It goes into depth of what, I'm going to hit on what Ben said just again, about how you should be using Christ in your life and how you can use Christ in your life. And the good that comes from using Christ in your life and the bad that comes from not having Christ in your life. You constantly see people that believe in Christ in the Book of Mormon and people that choose to not believe in Christ and the differences in which they live their lives.
The Book of Mormon, when it comes to holding to the faith and being strong and continuing to learn and continuing to push through fear and outwitting the devil, right? When it comes to actually trying to outwit the devil, I think reading that book will teach you how to outwit the devil more than reading this one. Because what that one does is that one gives us multiple stories of men and women having to make really hard decisions and having to think for themselves and figure out how to overcome big problems. Yeah. There's a kid in the very beginning of the book, and his name is Nephi. And Nephi is the example of someone who's not a drifter. He's a guy who takes knowledge he gained from his parents, right? He has brothers who are literally hating on him the whole time. And everything he does it straight with God. His parents aren't demanding him to do stuff. He talks to God all the time. God commands him directly to do stuff. He doesn't go through the parents and then to the son. It's through Nephi. Mm-hmm. And Nephi is the perfect example of, I would say, the best father, husband, brother, prophet, mm-hmm. leader that anyone can learn how to be. It's amazing. And there are so many other men and women in that book that are just incredibly intelligent men and just know, and they're godly. Mm-hmm. And those kind of men are just really hard to find. It's insanely hard. I mean, if you're going to read the Book of Mormon for the first time, Nephi, Alma, Ammon,
Helaman, Moroni,
Mormon,
Mormon,
King Moroni. I love King Moroni.
King Benjamin. King Messiah.
Moroni is so cool.
King Moroni?
Captain Moroni. Captain Moroni is so cool.
I know. He's like...
I love him.
All the people... Anyway, and one thing that the Book of Mormon instills in you when you read it, and it says this, like, I don't have the exact number, but when you read through it, you'll hear this, like, over and over and over again. Keep the commandments and you'll be happy. Like, God, keep the commandments and you'll be blessed. Keep the commandments and you'll be safe. God is trying to instill in us that, hey, I know what is best for you. I know what principles you should live your life by. And if you do that, you will be happier than if you live without them. And Dallin H. Oaks, he's a member of the presidency in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He recently gave this analogy to explaining why we need commandments in our life. He said this, right? When you form a government, your hope is that you're going to set laws, and with those laws, you're going to have some of your agency taken away, where you can't just kill everyone you want, or you'll go in jail. And you're doing that in hopes that it'll create a bigger state of happiness within that government, right? Within that environment. So you give up a little to receive so much more. So you know that, hey, when my kid gets in a fight at school, that other kid can't just pull out a gun and shoot him and nothing will happen, right? And so Dallin H. Oaks, President Dallin H. Oaks refers that back to the gospel and with the commandments. God knows what is best for us, and he knows us as humans are not going to be perfect. If he knew that none of us would kill each other, he would never give us a commandment to kill each other. Because he knows we won't do that. But he knows that for some reason, that's a desire that some of us have in our lives. And so as for the commandments, I'm relating back to commandments because you give up not being able to, for us specifically, we give up doing things on the Sabbath day. Going out, hanging out with friends, going to activities, going to the zoo, going to a trampoline park. We give up drinking alcohol. We promised God we wouldn't drink alcohol. Benj and I give up seeing other people and going out on dates with other people and just never getting married and just cheating on our spouse, right? That's something that it's not like hard to give up, but we give up that option. And those are all things that God has commanded for the sake of God knows that if we give up a little bit of that, he can give us so much more. He can provide us with so much more safety and a happier and holier life. And the Book of Mormon constantly teaches that, and it shows it over and over again. If you keep the commandments, your life overall will be so much greater. And it says this in the Book of Mormon, and this is one of my favorite scriptures. It says, so this is King Benjamin. He's a prophet at the time. He gathers all the people around the temple, and he's preaching to them. And he says, and moreover, I would desire that ye should consider the blessed and happy state of those that keep the commandments of God. For behold, they are blessed in all things, both temporal and spiritual. And if they hold out faithful to the end, they are received into heaven, that thereby they may dwell with God in a state of never-ending happiness. Oh, remember that these things are true, for the Lord God hath spoken it.
Mic drop. I love that.
Every little piece of that is so true. I love the scripture because it's saying, hey, keep the commandments and you'll be happy. But you can't just keep them once and be happy. Keep them forever. And you'll be blessed throughout the whole time of keeping your commandments. But then guess what? When you die, what will happen? You get to be with God forever. And you will be in a state of never-ending happiness. The Book of Mormon and our recent prophets have tried to tell us that all along. Thomas S. Monson, a previous prophet, told us, he said, choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong. And if you do that, your life will be so much better. And that's what the Book of Mormon teaches. It's not, most of the time, it's actually easier to choose wrong than it is to choose right. But you'll be so much more blessed when you do choose the right.
Yeah, and it might not be an immediate blessing. If you know you have to do the right thing, but it could be really, really detrimental to you, then you should do it.
Yeah.
You should always do it. If you lose your reputation because of it, it's a reputation of men, not of God.
Yeah.
God knows
which matters more.
Which matters more, yeah. God knows who you truly are. You always choose the easier wrong. God will know that. Other people might not. You might be able to live in a secret life your entire life, but God will know. I have read the Book of Mormon more times than I can count, and I know that the teachings in the Book of Mormon are true. I know that everything in there that teaches us we can apply to our lives when it comes to how to be a good parent, how to be a good sibling, how to be a good teacher, leader, boss, employee, mentor, whatever you're trying to gain right now. Out of all the books we've talked about, if you read the Book of Mormon, it will affect you more spiritually than any other realm. And I know that it's of God, and I know that it is good. It is really, really good. I love it. I read it every morning.
Yeah, good job. All right, everyone. Well, we just ran through, and those right there are our top books so far in our life. Now, I just want to end with this, an invitation for everyone. Pick one book that we have stated here today and go read it. If you don't have time right now, go buy the book. Sit on your desk and tell yourself you promised yourself that you would read one of these books. And I will tell you that if you do that and you apply the principles from any one of these books, your life will change for the better. And that's just our opinion. We think that these books testify of truth and they can teach you how to be better. But again, don't just be, like what Ben said, don't just be someone who just takes other people's word for it and just thinks for themselves and believes everything that they ever hear. But read it and then figure out if you think that it's true or not, and go apply the teachings in it.
And use the Spirit. Use the Spirit to discern whether or not that's something you want in your life. If you've made it this far and you're still listening to this, take a screenshot of what you're listening to on your phone right now, post it on your Instagram story, tag us, and then write in there what book you're going to read.
I love it.
If you've made it this far, please do that. That would be awesome.
Everyone, those are our favorite books. Also, make sure you're following us on Instagram or on YouTube or Facebook, because we ask questions about what you guys want to hear on these podcasts. We love your input. We want your input. We want to be able to answer questions that you guys have and talk about the opinions of what we think about those. So.
Yep, and there are opinions, just so you guys know. We're not prophets of God. This isn't truth. This is our opinions.
Yeah. Okay, see you next time on the...
See you on the Benj and Sailor Show.